I think Detroiters know that essentially you've told them, measure my job on population growth
Right.
and making life better for Detroiters. And so when we take a look at some of the things that have happened this year so far in the city, and one which just happened recently is finishing up the lights and the entire lighting system. How important was that to get that project done and get it done early?
You know, I think it was important from the standpoint of the public having confidence. And we got the neighborhoods done a year ago. We finished the main streets this past week. But for a long time, it seemed like city government couldn't get anything done, and the lights were a symbol of the ineffectiveness of City Hall.
So what other infrastructure projects can people look forward to seeing now in the coming year?
On the infrastructure side, you know, it's not going to be exciting stuff, but we're going to be fixing the roads. We're going to be adding probably another 1,000 bus trips a week to the bus schedule, because we still don't have the kind of bus service that we ought to have. We're going to do a huge amount of work on the water and sewer system, which you don't notice unless there's a sinkhole.
When you talk about quality of life, a lot of people talk about crime in the city of Detroit. Violent crime numbers were down this year. Still pretty elevated for where we stand with the rest of the country, but the numbers have come down a little bit. What can people expect in terms of more community policing, and what are you talking with the chief about initiatives in this next year or so?
The chief and I are talking about this all the time, and homicides are up. We're down in almost all other categories, but if you want to ask what's on people's minds, it's the homicides, and it is what defines the perception. We've got probably 200 police officers in academy classes now. We're graduating 30 to 40 every month. We're finally getting officers on the street because we put the pay raise into effect this year, and we're able to recruit.
Let's talk a little bit about the neighborhoods and blight removal. And you had an ambitious program through the Land Bank Authority to demo a lot of blighted properties. And there's also been a little bit of trouble. There's 2 federal investigations that are going on right now.
I think it's one big federal investigation, but okay.
Okay, but what can you tell people about where you are now? Demos were suspended for 2 months. They're back on. Where are we with the demo program? And how do you talk to people about trusting the administration since there is this now investigation?
Yeah, when I'm in the neighborhoods, and I still do a house party every single week, I never get asked about the investigation. What I get asked about is, when is the house coming down? We had a program that had 6 employees at the land bank and was doing maybe 25 houses a week, maybe 1,000 a year. We're now at 110 employees. We're running the largest demolition program in America. And by the way, we sold 6,000 side lots to people. And by the way, we got 2,000 vacant houses that people moved into. And we're running Rehabbed and Ready. And we grew it too fast without having the proper controls in place. But I think those controls are there now. I think the state would tell you the controls are there now. And so they're investigating stuff that happened in the past. But I think the state, the feds, and we all feel very good about the process as it stands today.
I know that you have put a lot of initiatives in place to make sure that neighborhoods are growing at the same rate as downtown and midtown, and a lot of tension there. Do you think critics are wrong in saying, well, we still need to concentrate more on the neighborhoods than what we're doing down here?
What people want in the neighborhoods is services. And we have had a huge improvement in services to people living in the neighborhoods. Their lights are on. The police are showing up in half the time. The ambulances are showing up in less than half the time. The illegal dump sites are cleaned up within 72 hours. The bulk pickup is every 2 weeks. The parks are cut every 7 to 10 days. So people in the neighborhoods have seen a huge improvement in services. The major commercial growth is going to happen in downtown and midtown. If you go to Chicago, it's the way it is in Chicago. It's the way it is in Pittsburgh. And so I think people who live in the city understand that.
What about small business as a little bit of the backbone of growth and putting maybe some small business in some of these neighborhoods as well? Is the Capitol loosening up a little bit more so we can encourage some small business? And is the red tape easing off a little bit in terms of a business who wants to, who wants to start up in Detroit?
Talk to any business owner in this city and they'll tell you how dramatically easier it is. I had somebody the other day tell me that they hadn't gotten their final work done on a Friday. They were going to open up at 9 o'clock on Monday morning to open their business. Our inspector showed up at 6 a.m., came in early to get the inspection done so they could open on time. I think there's a completely different attitude in supporting the businesses. And are we going to have the areas with most density fill in first? Absolutely. But we're already starting to see. I've been to 2 openings on Kirchhoffville near West Village of new businesses opening in buildings that have been vacant for 10 or 15 years. So one neighborhood at a time. Corktown, of course, we've got huge growth going out Michigan Avenue. So we're seeing one neighborhood at a time start to come back, and we're just going to keep right on going.
What plans do you have now in this next year to link more people to skilled training so they can fill the jobs that are available? I mean, the building that's going on with the new arenas downtown and them getting fined for the fact that they're not getting enough Detroiters to work on these projects.
The fine is a good thing. It means the city's finally starting to enforce what happened at the Red Wings Arena. They had 120 plumbers on the job site. They have to have 51%. They would have needed to have 60 plumbers from Detroit to make the goal. There's only 58 licensed plumbers in the city of Detroit total. So if you hired every single one, they wouldn't make it. And so we announced an agreement with the plumbers that 25% of all the apprenticeship classes at a minimum will be Detroiters, and they'll triple the number of plumbers from Detroit in the next 10 years. And I've had a conversation with a couple of the other trades to follow suit.
What's your relationship like with the folks in Lansing right now? I know we're going to have some new people in the legislature, and maybe tell us what your relationship is like with the governor right now this time.
We've got a good working relationship with the governor. I have a good working relationship with Arlen Meekhoff, the Senate Majority Leader, who's an excellent public servant. I think Kevin Cotter was a terrible speaker. I think pretty much everybody agrees with that. But Tom Leonard, the new speaker, he's a conservative, but he's a fine person, and he's somebody that I think we're going to find common ground with. So I'm really hopeful with Speaker Leonard's election that we're going to build partnerships and not be fighting, because I really felt like with the House last time, we weren't even getting listened to. What was right didn't matter.
So do you have a short wish list you're going to be bringing up to Lansing in 2017?
I mean, we know what we got to do. Car insurance is terrible for this state, but it's particularly bad for Detroit. This no-fault law is awful. As far as I'm concerned, they ought to repeal no-fault altogether. But if they don't repeal it, they got to stop this nonsense that even if you have health care, you've got to pay for it a second time with your car insurance. It's a complete ripoff that benefits not only the health care industry. Interestingly enough, the lawyers have figured out a way to take a third of the health care payments. And so now we're fighting the lawyers and health care companies at the same time.
What do you think an impact of a Trump presidency will have on the city of Detroit? I know that Detroit worked very closely with the Obama administration.
Yeah, I can't say enough about what the Obama administration did for us. In some cases it was funding, but in many cases it was just cleaning out bureaucracy. And the ability to make a phone call and be able to say to a cabinet secretary, this rule makes no sense, and have them listen and fix it was enormously beneficial to us. Now, if you listen to Donald Trump's statements, $1 trillion infrastructure rebuild, going to rebuild the cities. If he's serious about those things, we'll work in full partnership. President Obama has urged us to keep an open mind, and that's what we're doing.